Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast. We hope you are finding some awesome today. Kelvin, how you doing?
I am doing outstanding. Thank you very much. I'm here. It's upstate New York. It's the 4th of December, and we only have about we can see traces of snow. It's wonderful, and it's not.
Sorry, what does that look like?
It's white and kind of flaky. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, you from Savannah. But yeah, life's good. Having a good time, smiling today. And hey, it don't get much better than that. And we just had a really great podcast too. But
yeah,
hey, how are you today?
Oh, I'm wonderful today. We had a little cold snap here in Savannah recently. Hopefully when we time travel with this episode, you won't be buried in feet of snow, making your little flurries that you're talking about sound silly. And hopefully we'll be far away from the cold snap we had. But I actually had to. We converted the garage into an office. Mm-hmm. We only did a partial conversion. We didn't. We didn't split the HVAC. So the heat doesn't come out here. I've got a little space heater, and the space heater is not. It's just like a little desktop one. So I actually brought the computer inside and sat in the easy chair for a few nights for work when it was getting down into the 30s. Yeah, I found that like 42, 43 degrees out is about the limitation on the space heater. The space heater, a hat, and a sweatshirt will
get yourself an air fryer and just throw, just
work from inside the air fryer.
Just work from inside, yeah. Wonderful.
Yes. Anyway. So today on the podcast we talked to Dallen Reber, who is the creator very recently of the Self Mastery Journal. And we talk about habits, we talk about tools, we talk about goals, and we talk about his recent move from Tampa, Florida to Jackson, Michigan. We actually spoke off the episode about the implications for his jacket collection.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he's got some realizations on the way. Oh my goodness.
Brought to you today, as always, by Vitamin K Daily. Get your daily doses of positive from the Prince of Positive himself, Kelvin P. Sr. Sign up today at vitaminkdaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. If it's not for you, you can just opt out. And you won't be charged a dime. If you like it and want to keep it, just $24.95 a year. A year. I said that right. A year, $24.95 a year. Get that before it goes up, because it will go up. As any good product sold inexpensively does. Inexpensive, not cheap. Those are two different things.
There you go.
Vitamin K Daily, philosophical supplements for attitude, health. Get yourself 4 weeks free. And now I'm going to play the music, and on the other side, you're going to hear us talking to Dallen. Josh and Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go. All right, so normally what we do is we have you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us your mission, why it's your mission. We'll get rolling from there.
All right, yeah. So my name is Dallen Reber. I previously worked for a few years as a sports scientist down in Tampa, Florida, working both in research and with some professional athletes. And during this time, just experienced, I guess, my own transformation that led me down a series of events where I was able to create the Self Mastery Journal. And the hopes of this journal is to really mesh gratitude and productivity. So that's where I center my focus now, is spreading awareness around this and spreading that message, and hoping that it's a useful tool for others to enhance gratitude as well as productivity.
Great. How did that come about? And then how do you go from Tampa to Jackson?
Both great questions. So the going from Tampa to Jackson, my wife's family is actually from Jackson. It's where she grew up. So that's what brought us back here. The question, how did the journal come about? It's quite, I guess, a long story. I'll do my best to give the Cliff Notes version. But basically, I had completed my master's degree in sports science. I was working as a sports scientist, doing something that at the time was something that I loved, but quickly just came to the realization that it wasn't something that, was fulfilling me. And I kept seeking something different. So I was kind of in this position where I knew I needed a change, but I wasn't sure what that change looked like. So I started, participating in just a lot of introspective practices, trying to discover more about myself and what's really going to help fulfill that desire of more purpose in my life. And one of the things that I was able to do that was, really impactful for me was join a group on how to journal correctly. At the time, I, never really picked up pen to paper. And just being intrigued by, journaling correctly kind of stirred my thoughts like, okay, so is it not just a blank sheet of paper and a pen? What's he talking about? So I went for it for a month. And in this process, we use different, just little techniques, even like goal setting, gratitude journaling, like things of that nature. And then we discuss how it impacted our past, or what we can learn from it if we apply this to our past. How can we apply this moving forward? And in this process, I just had a big transformation where, I went from just stressing about what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And, if I need a change, what does that look like, to really focusing on, instead of stressing about this, let's focus on what I can control. And that at this moment is who I'm trying to become. And once I got detailed in that, then it was, I can actually be that person today. And that's just helped cascade my progress. So that's kind of, the Cliff Notes version of where this journal came about, because it was so impactful for me. I was looking for a tool that fulfilled that had these techniques, and I just couldn't find one that really meshed gratitude and productivity in the way that I wanted. So I decided to create it myself.
It's a very interesting concept, because I write.
Yeah.
So the concept of journaling properly, I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
Because I write a lot of stuff, and I guess it's mostly random, whatever I happen to be feeling at the time, and the idea that there would be a process I should be or could be going through that would make that more effective, other than just putting my thoughts down. It's pretty good. So I'm interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah, so I would love to touch on this and what I think journaling isn't, and you got to keep in mind too that that this, a lot of people do love to write their thoughts as maybe you do, or kind of keep more of a diary and discuss their own feelings and experiences that way. But the fact is, a lot of people also find that extremely daunting. So when it comes to journaling correctly, I think it's important to simplify the process for the user, because the majority of the time these people are going from never having done this to wanting to give it a shot and see if it's something they enjoy. Mm-hmm. So when I say the word journaling, that's kind of an umbrella term that encompasses, self-reflection, which in my journal are just answering 2 questions of what went well today and what can I do better tomorrow. Goal setting and gratitude journaling. Mm. And then I also have a journal prompt, or as I like to call it, a purpose prompt, because the idea is for it to provide an alternate perspective, not only on the life that you envision creating, but on the person that you desire to become. Because a lot of times we have, thoughts and ideas and desires, but until we understand the detail of this, it's just a thought. It's not a destination. So at least from my own experience, I found out that once I, got a little more granular on the life that I was trying to build and the person I was trying to become, that my daily goals just became much, much easier. I was able to look at my daily goals and have the motivation to do them because it made more sense, right? I knew the direction it was taking me. So when combining these techniques and journaling, it really allows you to, dissect your past and learn from it and apply that to your future while thriving in the moment today, which I think is a key component that we often miss.
Wow. Now, what were you doing in sports science before you set down this path?
So my degree in sports science was centered around what we call athlete monitoring.
Okay.
And so we use advanced technology, and basically the process is this, where you track an athlete throughout their competition, and that allows you to understand the physical demands of the game. And once you understand the physical demands of the game for their position, then you can more accurately kind of reverse engineer that and schedule be more efficient with their programming, with strength training, as well as recovery and things like that. So that's what I did throughout my degree. And when I got my job, it was more so on the research end. I still did a little bit of that, but we did a lot of research in regards to just all things health and performance and recovery and injury prevention, things of that nature. So, but we had people who were more hands-on working with the athletes, and then we had some more like scientist type people.
Gotcha.
I was more on the science team, and every once in a while we would intertwine.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I see a clear path from, working with athletics to, breaking down performance and seeing what I can do better and making a daily goal and
yeah. So, yeah. It's actually interesting just to kind of see how they do overlap, because when you are using this advanced technology to track athletes in their in game, you're capturing the big picture, then you're working backwards from that. Right. And that it's kind of the same way when we're striving towards this life that we envision, right? Well, how can we get more detailed with that so we can be more accurate in the process?
Mm-hmm.
Did you use your journal to get to where you are in your process of telling us about your journal? Basically, I've used a lot of different journals.
Yeah,
I get stuck on one because I've had it for so long, but did you try, and don't name any, did you try others that just didn't do it for you and you found out what was lacking and put yours together? Or did you just come up with your system from beginning to end, however long that process took to go, this is what's effective. This is what's effective. We don't really need to put that junk in there, but that kind of thing. How did that development work?
Yeah, so I would say both. I started off, I just created my own design on Word, and I just print it off and fold it up and put it in my pocket. And, as I used it, I would make some tweaks just for my own personal benefit. And then I started ordering a bunch of other journals or planners. And, the vast majority of the time, I found that I would get a journal or a planner, whatever you want to call it, and I would open it up and just be like, where the hell do I even start? Or how am I going to dedicate 30 minutes a day to doing this? Like, I'm looking for something that's quick and efficient. Mm-hmm. It's clean, it's simple, and it covers what I want covered. And so it was either the journal was like that, or it was more so just like, it's only gratitude journaling. And in my opinion, if that's all I wanted, I would just use my own notebook. And so from my printout that I had that I would just print off every week and put in my pocket, to ordering these journals, I was like, you know what, if I can't find something, then I can take this and I can make a copy out of it and start using that and get that out and see if I can get some feedback on how it's received. Because, things that are important to me are simplicity and just being able and simplicity in being able to receive the benefits, right? A lot of people like to overcomplicate it, but when you do that, you make it really difficult for somebody who's never done it before to create a habit out of that.
Right.
And if you can't create a habit out of that, then you're never going to receive the benefits, right?
That's a worthy quote right there. I'm writing it.
All right.
I want to rewind. You said something, man, I feel like we're very efficient, about 5 minutes ago, that really resonated. It was, I can be that person today. And so it was just kind of flipping a switch. How did you realize that? And then how do you become the person who can take that realization and turn it into action? Because that's really where a lot of people get stuck, right? It's hey, there's this thing I want to do. I understand the steps to do it, and there's no way I'm qualified for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think we got to back a little bit and see a lot of the pressures that people are under, because naturally, even from the age of 17, when you start thinking about going to college, you're getting bombarded with questions of what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And this is, for the vast majority of people, this is something that's extremely stressful and actually can become extremely inhibitory in their process. So speaking from myself, as I mentioned, that journal group that I was a part of and where I experienced that, paradigm shift where it kind of flipped the script for me, it came simply through self-awareness. I had to evaluate myself in this process, and which caused me to, understand and evaluate why I was at my current job. I'm in a position where it was, this job is cool. It sounds glamorous. I get to tell people, about the athletes that I meet, but is that fulfilling me, or am I doing it just so I can tell them that story and they'll think that it's cool? And once I came to this realization that, this isn't what's going to provide that happiness and purpose for me long term, I'm simply doing this to basically impress others, then it just helped me understand, like, a change has to happen, but until I figure out what that change looks like, let me focus on myself. And because ultimately that's what you can control, right? And trying to answer a question that you don't know the answer to every single day is asking for nothing but compounded stress, which is what I was going through.
Gotcha. And building from that, how do you build the confidence to just do something else?
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great question. For me, I had, my wife and I, we found out we were having our second kid. And so it came down to what story am I building, and what kind of, influence do I want to be on them when they're 20 years old and I'm telling them about what they should do with their life, or, encouraging them to really chase their dreams. How am I going to be able to do so if I don't have the courage to do so myself? So I really had to evaluate, the position I was in and the lesson and the courage that I'm displaying and what I look forward to teaching my children. And so, I understand that not everybody has kids, or everybody's motivated by different things. It might not be your kids, but people have certain events that differ but provide motivation in that aspect. And I think the important thing is to evaluate, like, what story are you building? What do you want to be able to talk about, or what story do you want to be able to tell 20, 30, 40 years from now? And what kind of, attributes does your story portray? Is it going to be one where, you wish you would have done something, or you did it even though it was unconventional and you made it happen? So
really it's a legacy motivator.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I'm not quite certain how I feel about the word legacy. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I think
it's like you feel like you're dead already when you hear it.
Yeah, but I also think it's more so like, I think can be an ego driven,
Gotcha.
term. Like, how do I want people to look at me? I want to be able to look at it as like, what do I want my kids to learn from me? And there's actually a really good quote. See if I can remember it, but it's from a book called The Power of Starting Something Stupid by Richie Norton. Honestly, it's a great book. But and the quote is basically, all it is will I regret this when I'm 80? And I remember reading that and thinking to myself, like, man, if I don't change anything, if I stay in the position I'm in, I'm going to be in a position when I'm 80 talking to my grandkids and thinking to myself, like, oh, yeah, I wish I would have done this, but I just didn't have the courage. And to me, that sounded silly. Like, I feel like my grandkids would have looked at me like, dude, you had 6 years to figure it out. Here you are, So that quote impacted me in that way, where I was just, if me not chasing these dreams or this lifestyle or this vision that I have for my family is just a lack of courage, then I need to put my back up against the wall and make them.
That whole back against the wall thing is kind of a scary concept here.
Yeah.
You mentioned ego, and is it just ego driven? I've had a lot of conversations on ego, and I spent a lot of time at one point trying to get rid of my ego, but I discovered something that not everybody will agree with me on. Without your ego, your ego is your sense of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You can have it can be outblown where you're like, you only care about you. But in my opinion, your ego gives you your sense of purpose.
Well, it's Freud's definition, right? Ego is self. That's Freud's definition, right? Ego is self.
Yeah. Ego is self. So I tried to get rid of it. And then I became very, humble, very humble. Humble is a rotten position to do anything from, because you never want to stand out. It's just bad. So ego, I think the fact that you can get this self-fulfillment. Now, and this is an opinion, the fact that it's not just for you makes it a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to help, your sense of self, trying to help the world, really, or those who want to be helped, makes it not a bad thing. You're actually trying to accomplish something for society. And you're not necessarily, in your case, from what I see, you're not trying to tell them what that's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. You're just helping them find out who it is they are meant to be, or who they think they're meant to be, so that they can fulfill the life that they came here to
absolutely.
And I like that part of ego. So don't dump your ego. I'm sorry. That's a rookie talker. Don't dump your ego. Hang on to that, because that's the thing that's going to help all the people that you want to help.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great position on that. So I appreciate that. I don't disagree with it at all. I think
I'm good with it.
It can be a
really good conversation. No, Calvin, no, really. But I liked it. And that took a lot of, I'm older than I like to say sometimes, but I'm planning to live to be 156, so it really doesn't matter.
There you go.
I'm not even halfway there yet. So, but it's like, it's just that thing. And I'm really intrigued by the book. I took a look at it on the website, stuff that you're doing, and I'm like, that's really interesting the way you actually got that laid out. So, Josh, if I'm running away from anything you're trying to do, okay. So there's like a formula to the way you've got it laid out. It's not just random blocks asking questions here and there. So is there a flow there that you have intentionally put in?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. So basically it's just simply broken down into a morning routine and an evening routine. Mm-hmm. And the morning routine just encompasses daily goals, today's top 3 goals, positive affirmation, and 3 gratitudes. And that takes no more than 2 to 3 minutes to do. And then the evening routine, again, is quick. All it is answering the question, what went well today and what can I improve upon? Mm-hmm. So, and honestly, that's one of my favorite sections, right? Because before practicing this, I'd never take the idea I'd never take the time to kind of sit and reflect about my day, even though there's a lot that we can learn from it. Was I focused? Was I not focused? If I wasn't, why is that the case? Right now, tomorrow, I know what I can address to be more focused throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So that is the evening routine. And then on the right side of the page, you have the, inspirational quote. And then along with that quote comes the purpose prompt with a little space to answer that. And then a section for notes where you can just, I keep my journal with me all the time. So that allows me to jot down any notes and ideas on the piece of paper before my horrific memory will forget it.
I know that horrific memories.
Yeah, hey man,
this is a really good idea. There's no way I'm going to forget this.
Yeah.
What was I just thinking? What did I say?
Yeah. What did I have for breakfast today? We overestimate the power of our memory, and I joke with my wife that my journal is the best memory I have, and it actually allows me to be more present with my family, which I've struggled with a lot. I'm sure people listening can relate. When you're striving to accomplish something, whatever it might be, you get ideas, you get thoughts, you get things that you want to work on, and it occupies space in your mind. And a lot of times I would close up shop for my work day and I go spend time with my wife and kids, and my wheels just kept spinning. And then I started thinking, what if I could just release all these thoughts on paper before I go spend time with my wife and kids? What kind of impact would that have? And I did some reading on it. Some people call it the write and release effect, because these thoughts go from occupying space in your mind to occupying space on the paper, which allows you to release it, because if you forget it, it's still there tomorrow.
It's there.
Yeah. So that's one of my, every day before I finish up, I write down anything that's on my mind. And now my goals for tomorrow are set, and I can go into the afternoon and evening with my family and focus on being with them.
Yeah, I think it was Hemingway used to famously leave off for the day mid-sentence so that he'd always have a place to pick up tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Wow.
So did you ever have you've made this a nice, succinct process. So did you have difficulty like deciding, okay, how much space am I going to allow myself to write this thing? Because I was going through some of my old journals the other day, and I can take up a lot of pages and say, I don't know what it was I said, but it takes a long time to read it. So it's like, did you deliberately curtail that space so you had to be more precise in your thought? God, I can't believe I actually asked that question. Yeah. Did you do that intentionally or just?
Yeah. So what happened was the first product I made was a minimum viable product. I went through a print on demand company. So I wanted to get it out to as many people as possible so I could get feedback, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually had a few other things included in the journal, which didn't allow as much writing space. And so some of the feedback I got was, I need more space writing my goals and my gratitudes, because the lines were a lot shorter. And then some people would say, I wish I could journal the whole page. And at the time, it wouldn't allow that. And so I removed a few sections and made the writing space kind of, I guess, I adjusted it to fit a lot of the consistent feedback that I'd gotten. And then I actually, on the journal prompt section, I meshed that in a way with the notes section. So if you do want to continue writing, you can seamlessly do so throughout the notes section. So, somebody who wants to just write one sentence doesn't feel like they have to write a whole page, and somebody who wants to write a whole page can do so. Mm-hmm. So, but it was a process of getting feedback and realizing that I needed to make some adjustments, and, which I'm extremely glad that I did that minimum viable product before I went to, dumping more capital into it, because I got a lot of awesome feedback from it.
Awesome.
Now, as somebody who likes to make 70, 80 item lists, can you talk about the importance of limiting that like, here are my like top 3. Some people will do top 5 or whatever, but they keep the number small. Why did you do that? Why is that important?
So I have a love-hate relationship with lists. And the reason why I love them is because it allows me to remember things that I want to do. The reason why I hate them is because, if I have this huge list, generally you default to doing the easiest ones instead of the most important ones. So, you might go throughout your day and you're checking off a bunch from your list, but you're not necessarily focusing on the tasks that move the needle. So there's a few different strategies that, you can use. And one of the, when I use my journal, I'll transfer today's notes over to tomorrow's top 3 goals, right? So I'm evaluating, which one of these tasks is actually going to move the needle, and where should I put my focus on first. And then if I do have a list, I'll simply just go through and prioritize them. I'll just write 1, 2, 3 by the most important one. So once I'm done with my top 3 goals, I can then turn to this list and see, where should I start. So lists can be kind of dangerous. There's a few other techniques out there. I guess I won't get into it. I think the simplest way is to, keep a list, write things down, but just prioritize it. Prioritize your top 3 by putting a 1, 2, 3 by it, and that's going to help you actually focus on the tasks that are moving the needle for you.
Yeah, I do. I've been using the Franklin Planner forever, since mid 80s. And clearly it's one of my biggest friends and my worst enemies, because they have a whole side of page for that list. And, trying to get to 1, 2, 3 of what's most important when you got like 80 things on the page is difficult. So sometimes that's been my worst enemy, and I still got my A1, A2, and A3 up there and not touched for the day. So, I may have to change my process for the next year. And
but we do love the dopamine hit of being able to cross something off a list, right?
I do. But it would be nice to have the whole list, say 3, checked off, then 3 up top, and look, that mountain below it. Look at there, stuff I haven't done today.
Yeah. I can imagine that can cause some anxiety too.
It can be demotivating. Yeah,
for sure.
I still have to feed the dog. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like there's thought here. I mean, there's process, but I guess that's what that sports thing for, getting that process.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good. I'm gonna shut up now. Josh, your turn again.
Yeah. I wanted to shift track a little bit. And like, we've never done this before, but we we always meet in video, but we release the audio, so we don't talk about what's on our video screens much.
Yeah.
But I want to look at the 3 of us just very quickly. Kelvin is here with a virtual background. I know what his office looks like, and I understand why he's got that virtual background. I am in my converted garage, and you can kind of tell that. It's actually half converted. So I got, a storage shelf and some bookcases and a wastebasket behind me, and you are in a room with nothing on the wall behind you. So. Is that something that's intentionally minimal? Is that an intentional workspace choice, or did I just read like so much into our?
Hate to say this, but it's not necessarily intentional. This is my new workspace. It's in the basement of our home. So when we went from Tampa to Florida, we got into this home a month ago. So
okay. So you're new to Jackson, okay?
Yeah, I'm new to Jackson, that's for sure. so it's the workspace is still a work in progress, but I do like, maybe I do like that minimalistic viewpoint. Might have to roll with that. That might be my excuse in the future.
Minimalism has not been my strong suit. No, not at all. So I got a bizarre question. Well, it's not bizarre, really. I'm looking at the graphic on your planner, on your journal.
Yeah.
What's in that?
So the logo you're referencing. So this is actually, I guess, kind of a funny story, because when I first started this company, the name of it was High Performance Life. Mm-hmm. And, I'm originally from Utah, and I love the mountains. I feel like for me, they're very symbolic for many reasons. And so I wanted a logo that encompassed, high performance life along with a mountain range or something of that nature. So I went with the triangular logo. And then if you look closely, you can notice that there's an HP in the logo. And
okay.
And you can't really tell the L is there that much, but I say it is. My wife likes to disagree. But then I went and I transitioned the name. I feel like High Performance Life was a little too generic, and I transferred. I did a little rebrand to Realizations, but I liked the logo so much that I had to keep it.
Okay. It looked intentional, so I was like, okay, so what's going to go there? So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And yeah, since we're on the subject, I wanted to talk about mastery.
Yeah.
And I understand that mastery and self-mastery are actually very disconnected. Like, they're very different terms. Like, is mastery in itself is taking control of something else, right? Self-mastery is clearly something different. Why did you kind of pick that to describe what you're doing?
Yeah, so I did a lot of reading on self-mastery for some time, and what I found was a lot of people really like to overcomplicate this concept. And they make it feel like in order to be a self-master, you need to be a monk or something, or a high-performing yogi, whatever it might be, somebody who is completely egoless, and just all these, and with some arbitrary terms that make it sound like it's much more difficult than it actually is. To me, what I was able to break it down to is self-mastery is simply a process from learning from your past, preparing for your future, and thriving in the moment. And a lot of times we see it as this destination of becoming a self-master, but that's far from the case. As somebody who practices self-mastery or personal growth or whatever understands that it's a continual process, and you never reach to a point where I made it, right? So once you understand that it's a process and you're thriving throughout the process, that to me is what I'm trying to encompass with the term self-mastery, right? Always striving for something greater, but always being grateful for where you're at and what you have in this moment.
And yeah, the idea of always improving, always having something new to do is important. I think we talk about having another goal in mind when you accomplish one, because once you accomplish one, that can't be the only thing you ever do. You lose fulfillment.
For sure.
I think Lionel Richie, I think it was, said in the 80s when he was like, number one in everything. He's like, yeah, I'm at the top of the mountain. And you know what? It's pretty lonely up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, a goal is nothing but a stepping stone. It's the most valuable thing that comes from a goal is the trajectory that it puts you on and the process that you have to go through to get there. So if, reaching a goal and ceasing to continue with this process is what you're doing, then the goal hasn't been valuable to you at all. You got to continue through that process and use that as nothing but leverage to continue to the next one.
Yeah, I've heard these people in the last couple of years who want to poo-poo setting goals, and I'm like, they are so drunk. Call it what you want. Well, it's not the goal, it's a process. But the process is broken up into littler steps.
Right. And that's the thing is like, and I get a lot of their points with why the process might be, why they argue it might be more important. But in my opinion, the reality is you can't establish a process without first having that goal, which is your destination, just like a GPS system, right? Where if I wanted to show up at your house and I put New York City or New York in my GPS, that might get me closer to your home, but I'm going to be hours away from your home still with no idea how to get there. But the more accurate the goal, the more accurate that destination, then the more accurate the process is to get there. So it's the trajectory that goal puts you on.
Yeah. Love that. Can
you talk a little bit about tools as tools and not the endpoint? Because I think one thing that people do when they see a new tool, like their journal, is they get the journal and they think that the new goal with this journal is to fill in the journal. Mm-hmm. And they think, I filled in every day, I did it right. And that's not the point at all, right? The point is to use it to drive you towards something, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I think inherently kind of, the tool is in a sense an additional accountability tool, right? It's something that if you are using every day, then you are either then it's likely that you're holding yourself accountable to these goals. So, I think it's important to not only use it, but reflect upon your progress too. One of the things that, I'll do every once in a while, maybe when I have a day that's less motivating, or I just don't feel like doing the things that I know I should be doing, I can take a look back on, 1, 2, 3 weeks in the past and see those goals that I was working on then and get a better understanding of how far I've come. So, I think if your goal is to use the journal every day, then your goal should also be to check off the goals that you're setting for that day, right? Otherwise, you're right. It's a tool that you're using to be able to say that you're using, but it's not bringing the value that it could be.
Right. So to clarify, it's something to use to get where you want to be. It's not the place you want to be. It's the tool to get you there, mm-hmm. Right? It's the hammer, not the house.
Yep, exactly. It's a great analogy.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. It's very intriguing. Plus, you got quotes I like in here.
Good.
I have to ask you some technical points on the quotes you're using in here. I can't find anything about it that I don't like, which is, it's bothersome to me. I need to find a flaw. No, just kidding. I'm really not that guy. What if you're a person who has difficulty narrowing things down to the most important that you want to do?
So most important as in like things that move the needle, whether it's personally or for business. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, potentially. This is a talking about Kelvin moment, just in case you hadn't figured that out.
I like to do asking for a friend.
I'm a speaker.
Yeah.
I'm a professional photographer. I'm a life coach. There's a couple other things in there thrown apart. Now, my vision of everything that I do is something that will help to enhance someone else's self-image or their value in themselves and their appreciation of themselves. So all those things in my head fit together in one little nut.
Mm-hmm.
However, each of them technically is a career unto itself.
Right.
And I can't let them go. I'm sorry. That's what I keep telling myself. I'm in them all the time. So I see your journal here. So how would your journal fit someone who's, like me? We just
Right.
a lot that I want to do. How would I use that to? Do I need 3 journals? Do I? What? What do you think?
Well, no, you certainly don't want 3 or need 3 journals unless you just want to buy 3 for fun.
So feel free to buy 3.
Yeah, you can buy 3 if you want, but you
let
don't
me do
need
that.
to.
You are so good to me.
Yeah. But I mean, in my opinion, it really comes down to awareness, right? It sounds like you have a lot that you enjoy doing. Well, I think something that's extremely valuable is just taking the time to evaluate these different areas and understanding, not only the financial aspect, but what do I enjoy doing most and what gives me the lifestyle that I enjoy living most, and how am I making, what kind of impact is this having? Is that something that I want to do, forever, or am I doing it simply for the financial benefit, or can I do without it? And so I think analyzing these different areas in that manner can just help narrow down, which area you would like to specialize in or put the majority of your focus, right? Because like you said, they do all intertwine. Maybe one's more financially beneficial while the other provides a better lifestyle. Well, which one's more important to you at this moment? And I think that's different for everybody, but it definitely comes through a place of cultivating self-awareness and evaluating these different areas, and just to get a better understanding of what it brings you, what your enjoyment level is with it, and how can you go about prioritizing that compared to the other tasks you have on your plate. This sounds like you got a lot going on.
A little bit, yeah. That wasn't even half of it. That's a whole other.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, you said you had to feed the dog earlier, so no, that's a whole nother.
But yeah.
Let me try to ask the same question a different way, because I think I get what Kelvin was getting at, and that the things that you need to do throughout the day to feed photography and coaching and speaking, and that's in Kelvin's specific case, but a lot of people, for a lot of people, sometimes it's parenting and work and writing a book and or a side hustle, or and building that relationship with their spouse. All these things are who we are and what we do. How do we pick how to prioritize?
Man, that's a great question. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to give, I guess, a great answer for that. And the first thing that really, I guess, comes to mind is...
So wait, before you try to answer this, then,
yep.
let's take your case specifically. You've got a career that you like, not 100% fulfilling. You kind of see where it's going to go for. Building a side hustle, you're creating the journal. Your wife's pregnant with your second child, which means that you're already a dad. You're already a husband. You've got these plates to juggle. How did you decide what to prioritize?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but for me, it ultimately came down to the life that I envisioned myself creating for my family.
How did you pick your 3 things for a Tuesday, June 3rd?
Yeah, so basically, I was in a position where I had this, I guess, an undetailed vision of the life that I wanted to create for my family. And I was able to evaluate, the position I was currently in and understand that that's not necessarily going to give me that.
Okay. So you set your long-term priority. Okay.
Yeah. So I had, I got more detailed and granular with my long-term vision, and not just from the financial aspect, right? But for me, it was important that, I wasn't completely concerned with being paid more, but I wanted to change the manner in which that I got paid. Right. To me, I would have taken less money, which I did take less money to get paid differently. And that allowed me the freedom that I was looking for. And so when you're talking about prioritizing tasks, to me, the thing that was most important, it was that I was building this, which was just at the time a side hustle that would allow me to step away from my current situation. So, but I guess it all comes down to, where are you going? Where do you desire to go? And then just getting a better understanding of what's going to get you there the quickest way, the most efficient way possible. I'm not sure if that suffices.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's the reality of it. Choices at some point have to be made. Yeah.
Based on what's sitting in front of you. Yeah.
Right.
And I guess, some of that is having the right people around you, right? You had clearly you were in a, without getting too personal, clearly you were in a marriage that was supporting the, and you had a family that could get behind you working on this project. And
for sure.
And not everybody, that's not going to be a luxury everybody has. But it's a luxury a lot of people have and don't realize. Because they've never explored it.
And it definitely requires open communication. We were in a comfortable position, and doing something different without communicating the purpose of why, it could have been really concerning for not only my wife, but other people, I guess. But communicating the purpose of, this is what I want to focus on now, and this is why, this is where I see it getting us to, then it just allows for much more support and I guess momentum in those areas.
So now that you've got the journal here, how do you feel? I mean, has this fulfilled the purpose that you wanted it to fulfill?
I'll say it feels great, because it was a long process, and I had some difficult times, namely after having quit my job and then having a set date as a target date to launch, but being set back a few months, just because that's the way things go when you're working with overseas manufacturing. A setback is not a few days; it's at minimum 4 weeks at times. So it tested my patience, but so getting it here now it feels right. But the thing that I love most now is I can spread the message, right? Because it's difficult before you actually have a business or a product. People don't want to really hear about your ideas. They don't want to hear about what you're working on. They want to hear about what you're doing and what you've done. And so when you're talking about, spreading your message through networking, through podcasts or events and things like that, it's gratifying to be able to speak on that, touch on that, and my story as well. And then also just see the way that it's been received from those who have not only bought it, but used it. So it's definitely helped me realize that I do feel like I'm on the right path right now. And I am grateful for the risks and the decisions that I've made that have got me here. And now that the ball has started rolling, and I'm just excited to continue building that momentum forward.
Awesome.
Great. So now that you've got the journal, what's next?
Yeah, so my focus is right now strictly through Amazon, and I guess optimizing some work with my Amazon ads, and that comes with time. It's not necessarily something that you can get lucky on right now. Usually, it's something that you just continually optimize over time. So I'm dedicated on taking advantage of Amazon's platform and optimizing there until I've hit a few benchmarks to where I can then take it and start focusing on my own e-commerce store and building more from that brand that the journal has created. Maybe doing, groups and trainings with people who desire change but don't know what that change looks like. How can they gain more clarity and then start working towards that is something that I see the brand covering in the future. But immediate focuses are strictly, Amazon, connecting with people organically online through social media and through podcasts. And then I do have hopes to launch my own podcast in beginning of February 2021. So that's something that I'm really excited about and hopefully will just help continue to spread the message.
Great. Kelvin, anything else working in your mind?
No, I'm just looking at it going, I think I need to put one of these in my hands.
I think you'll like it.
Great.
I think you'll like it.
Because I like it's compartmented. It's structured, really structured.
Exactly.
And it seems to follow a thought process. You eliminate you eliminate the ability to just run on endlessly with tasks, and you force focus on a limited number of things, it looks like.
100%.
I could probably use a little forced focus. So that looks good.
So, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dallen, is there anything else that, I know this is everybody's favorite question. Is there anything that you had hoped that we'd talk about that we didn't get to?
Not necessarily. I mean, put me on the spot, but nothing's coming to mind. I think we covered most of it. It's, regardless, I'm grateful that you guys have had me on this show. I think it's something, I've had a great time doing it. I think you guys are awesome hosts. So, as far as certain topics, no, I think you guys covered the majority of it.
Great. Where do you hang out most online? Where can people find you?
So I'm most active on Twitter. So that's at Dallen Reber, DALLENREBER. And if anyone wants to contact me there, I respond to my DMs daily. And then I also have a link, DallenReber.com, where you'll find my journal, a link to the Amazon page. You'll find a free guide to how to journal correctly. So if anybody's unsure if it's something that they want to invest in, they can go and learn more about the specific techniques that this journal contains. And then I'm happy to, chat with anybody who kind of feels like this, where they desire change. Maybe they're not happy with their job, but they don't know exactly what steps need to be taken, and just try to gain a little more clarity. And so on that website, DallenReber.com, there should be a Calendly link where you can schedule a free 15-minute call with me. So that would be the best way to Twitter or
the website directly.
Yep.
Great. And we'll have links to those in the show notes too. So if anybody was trying to scribble those down, they don't know. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Awesome podcast. Love your show. So I'm going to continue listening to it.
Thanks.
Way to go.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends.
A Better Humanhood production.